Hello, friends. From yesterday, I have been trying to develop a love discourse. And I realize you cannot, discuss one thing without looking at the flip side of that thing. And in trying to understand love, in my little musings, as the information is dropped on my heart, I realize that love has a story, just like we all have a story. And there is a beginning of the love story. And for us to really look at love, we also need to look at the antithesis of love, which is sin. And we looked at the events that happened in heaven, which shaped humanity, of course, beginning from Satan, who was Lucifer, then becomes Satan and comes down, and through him, sin is introduced into the world. And when sin comes, then love moves away. So, as people living right now in this present age, what we always strive for is to return back that lost glory, because we have fallen, meaning that we have lost that original order where we belong to the garden and we are so wise and innocent, and we are in direct communication and fellowship with God. He's so close to us, and we have everything we need, full, completely lacking nothing. But because of the corruption that came with sin, we lost that. And now we live in pain, we live with tears, we live with the isolation and all the things that fight against us. They are all dictates of the corruption that we live with. And we are called as people who know God and people who have a desire to one day go back home. We are called to live in this universe that has all the corrupt elements and yet be unspotted by them, so that we are influenced by them like everybody else. But we strive to remain steadfast in that state of showering forth love. And then what comes to my mind is that when we talk about the sin, sin is, it can be a nature. You can live in a sinful nature, meaning that for you to live in sin, you don't have to be doing anything. You just have to live without God within you. You just have to allow the elements of this world to be in you, and that is sinful nature. You just have to let love leave you. And the moment love vacates, then what happens is that that sinful nature takes over. Because love and sin cannot dwell together. So the moment love goes, then sin takes over. And conversely, you cannot live in a love nature. The nature that we can live in as human beings is a sinful nature, because it doesn't have to be like you are doing things. No. In fact, the things that come out that are wrong are the fruits of the nature that we are. We are by nature sinful. And so that produces those fruits of corruption. It's a nature. But love is something that we strive to have, to maintain, so that a loving person is not naturally loving. It's an acquired thing. It's a heavenly thing that we acquire. And then the fruits begin coming out, regardless of what is happening in the environment, regardless what we experience. We still produce that godly nature. It's the divine nature that God puts into those that seek after Him. And the sinful nature is what we are born into because of the separation between us and God. And so I don't want to be very philosophical, but just to try to explain what it is and try to trace the origin of this sinful nature. And looking in the Bible, we find that the book of Genesis, chapter 1 and chapter 2, doesn't have sin. It's only love. And the love that we see there brings about the Spirit. The Spirit is covering the waters. And the Word is creating, and there is God. So there is the triune, the Godhead at work. And creation is taking place and everything is so perfect. But beginning Genesis chapter 3, then we see a serpent. Satan now is introduced. And then when you go to the end of the Bible again, in Revelation chapter 20, we find that serpent and the false prophet and the beast, being judged. And so the devil ends in Revelation chapter 20. In Revelation chapter 21, there is a new heaven and a new earth. Everything is new, new order. And Revelation 22, which is the last chapter in the Bible, there is a new river of life. So the first two chapters of the Bible are free of Satan and therefore free of sin. And they are full of love. And then between Revelation 3 and between Genesis 3 and Revelation 20, there is this stretch of evil and Satan. And therefore there is warfare that human beings who dwell within this timeline struggle.